Welcome to Becoming Arketype, where we explore the science and strategy of natural health optimization and performance so that you can achieve your ideal self. I am Dr. Ryan Sousley. Okay, welcome back. Hey, if your sleep is off, everything else gets harder. I know this sounds obvious, but fat loss becomes harder. Your metabolism slows down, energy drops, chronic pain increases, your hormones get out of balance, blood sugar becomes unstable. And this isn't opinion, it's just physiology. You know, most people try to override or hack their poor sleep instead of actually fixing it. And so people do things like drink more coffee or energy drinks or caffeine pills. They stack supplements, they push harder. But sleep is not just rest. You got to understand that. Sleep is not just shutting everything down. Your body actually does a lot of really beneficial things while you sleep. It's part of the regulatory system. And so that's why if your sleep is broken, your body is operating in survival mode and not optimization modes. I know you want to get the most out of your life, just like I do too. And I can tell you personally, for years and years and years, I kind of wore it as a badge of honor that I did not sleep very much. You know, I'd go to bed at 10:30, 11, get up at 4:30 or 5, so like 6-ish hours of sleep. And then I'd go to the gym, train for an hour, go to the office, work for 4 or 5 hours, go back to the gym, train for another hour. You know, these are in my Ironman days. Go back to the office, work another 4 or 5 hours, and then get home late. Sometimes I'd have a speaking gig or a workshop or something like that. And I just rinsed and repeated for, years. And I felt like I was getting away with it. But I can tell you, as I got into my upper 30s, 40s, low 40s, physiology always wins. And you got to remember that you might feel like you're getting away with something right now. Maybe it's poor diet, maybe it's poor sleep, maybe it's lack of exercise, maybe it's just, you have an iron will, and so you're able to just forge ahead no matter what the circumstances. Well, that's great. I'm all for willpower. I'm all for being tough and being able to grind it out. However, you can only do that type of stuff for so long before it becomes unsustainable. So there's a big misunderstanding about sleep. Most people think that sleep is this passive thing. You lie down, you shut your brain off, and you get rest. But biologically, sleep is one of the most, and this is, I think this is really interesting. In fact, this might be one of the big things that you get out of today's podcast, but biologically, sleep is one of the most metabolically active states that your body enters, meaning your metabolism actually kicks on and you burn a lot of fat. You take out a lot of, metabolic and cellular garbage, autophagy, where your cells actually eat themselves, like the healthy cells eat the bad cells, the Franken cells. A lot of that stuff happens while you sleep. And so if you're not getting good sleep, even though you might be conked out. And this is why I'll talk just briefly about this in a minute, but this is why sleep medications, I don't think are very, very healthy long-term, even though they do help you go to sleep, just because you're unconscious. And maybe that's a better way to look at it. Just because you're unconscious, these sleep medications oftentimes just help you enter a state of unconsciousness, but they don't really address the underlying cause of the problem, which means you're not actually getting full rest. Therefore, you're not getting the robust benefits of actual sleep. So, many of the things that people are chasing, like fat loss, increased energy, testosterone recovery, these are all things that are regulated during sleep and not just during workouts or meals. And I think, again, if I can help just shift your mindset so that you stop looking at sleep as this thing that you're trying to get away with doing as little of as possible so that you can spend all this extra time charging ahead and accomplishing all these things, and instead look at it more like on the same playing field as exercise, right? If you're a hard charger, if you're a go-getter, you're probably into exercise and fitness like I am. But, for me, it's like I have all my workouts written out on my calendar, like how long I'm going to go for, what I'm going to do, what recovery is going to look like, what I'm going to eat before. All that. If we could start putting even close to the amount of intention into sleep as we do some of these other categories of lifestyle and health, like fitness or food, I think the benefits could be astounding to you. They have been for me. So, this is why Willpower alone doesn't fix sleep. It's why supplements rarely resolve the issue, although supplements are probably better than pharmaceuticals, in the long term at least. But even then, a lot of people get dependent on supplements, or they're just kind of circumventing the underlying cause of the problem. That's why a lot of people swell melatonin or inositol or things like that. And that's great. I've taken those things too. And if I'm traveling, or if I just know that I'm going through a stressful season, or that I have to stay up late, or, be up late multiple nights in a row or something like that, I'll use a supplement. But doing that long term, to me, it's like a natural Band-Aid that's not a whole lot better than like a full-blown pharmaceutical intervention. So I want to talk about why this matters, because again, I think everybody understands like, oh yeah, sleep's important. We need to sleep. Our body recovers, yada, yada. But I think what I want to try to do for the next little bit is really focus on problem solution. Because I think what motivates us is the outcome, right? Like if I told you that getting better sleep could help you lose weight, maybe you'd pay more attention. If I told you that getting better sleep would help you have better cognitive function and memory and executive function and ability to make decisions and be decisive in your job, be a better leader, well, maybe you'd pay more attention. I know I would. Same thing with heart health and blood sugar regulation and, risk of Alzheimer's and dementia, Parkinson's. So I want to talk about metabolism and weight regulation specifically. Best thing you could do to support us is just subscribe to it and leave us a review. I mean, that really does mean a lot. I read the reviews every single week and I take your feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. And I try to make this show better because I'm doing this for you. I mean, partly I'm doing it for me because I'm interested in this stuff. And, I like doing the research and learning and applying for me and my family anyway. But really, this is for you. And so I read the reviews, I take it to heart. And then when you subscribe, obviously just lets us know that we're doing a good job and kicks us up in the search results. So we get to reach more people. So do me a favor. It'll take you 10 seconds. It'll mean a lot to me. Really appreciate it. So let me talk about sleep and metabolism for a second. So in controlled lab studies from the University of Chicago, researchers showed that just 4 or 5 nights of short sleep caused 20 to 30% reduction in insulin sensitivity. What does that mean? It means your body needs more insulin to handle the same amount of food. What is insulin? It's the chemical or the compound that your body uses to shuttle sugar out of the blood and into your cells. And that's necessary because if you have too much sugar in your bloodstream, you go into a diabetic coma, essentially, right? Or hyperglycemic shock. So that's why diabetes is so dangerous, is because sugar can kill you if it's not shuttled out of the blood in a timely fashion, right? And in the right amount. So when you don't get enough sleep, like the study shows, 4 to 5 nights of just less than optimal sleep, which is less than 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep every night, 20 to 30% reduction in insulin sensitivity. And this metabolic shift alone pushes your body towards fat storage, right? That's one of the reasons why people with diabetes struggle with their weight, because they the body has to put the energy somewhere, right? And if it's inefficient, typically it just shuttles into the fat. Your fat cells grow, your DNA actually becomes, this is a topic for another show, but your DNA, as you put on more weight, it's fascinating. Your adipose tissue or your fat cells actually get reprogrammed to produce more fat cells in anticipation of what your body thinks is coming next, because it's been so repetitive up to that point. So again, we're not going to get too much into that. Bottom line is, I want you to know that when you get poor sleep, your insulin sensitivity goes down, your risk of diabetes goes up, your body's ability to regulate blood sugar becomes impaired, and what you may care most about is you put on weight. So literally getting poor sleep causes you to put on weight. So if that's what you care about, get more sleep, even just for that. And that's the irony, that a lot of people will skip sleep because they're busy doing things, thinking that they got to stay active or they got to achieve. And meanwhile, not getting enough sleep is undercutting the long-term results that the person's actually shooting for. Now, here's the part that most people don't know. In a study that was published in the Annals of Internal Medicine, participants were placed on the same caloric diet deficit. So they got less calories per day than they had been. And each group lost weight, but one group slept 8.5 hours a night and the other slept 5.5 hours a night. And the composition of weight loss was completely different between the two. So both groups lost weight, because if you cut your calories, you're probably going to lose weight. But the well-rested group lost mostly body fat. The sleep-deprived group lost significantly more lean muscle and not nearly as much body fat. So what does that say? Well, if you put yourself on a diet, you cut calories, maybe you're exercising a lot more, but even if you just cut calories in order to lose weight, if you're not getting adequate sleep, you will lose weight, but predominantly in the form of muscle. So again, you're kind of undercutting ultimately what you want, because you don't want to lose weight by losing muscle. You want to lose weight by losing fat. So poor sleep makes dieting less effective and more damaging. So you might lose weight, but you lose more muscle. Actually slows your metabolism down, worsens inflammation. It's just bad news. Now I want to talk about sleep and appetite and cravings. This is really interesting too, because sleep directly regulates hunger hormones. The key hormones that we're talking about right now are leptin, which signals fullness, and then ghrelin, which signals hunger. So when your body produces leptin, tells your brain to stop eating. I'm full. So more leptin means stop eating. I'm full. More ghrelin means I'm hungry. Let's eat more. So you need both of these, right? But you can imagine if these hormones get thrown off, you're going to eat when you shouldn't, and you're not going to eat when you should. It just messes everything up. So a study that was published in PLOS magazine showed that sleep restriction lowers leptin and increases ghrelin. So remember, what do those two do? What do those two hormones do? Well, leptin signals fullness. So if you have less leptin in your body, you're going to feel less full, which means you're going to do what? Want to eat more, or you have to eat more to feel as full. And it raises ghrelin, which signals hunger. So in this study, they were able to prove that sleep restriction made people eat more because of this hormone imbalance, right? You could see how this starts to add up and make a big impact. So you feel less satisfied, you feel more hungry, you crave high calorie, high carbohydrate foods, and this is why people that experience poor sleep on a consistent basis often say, I know what I should eat, but I just can't control these cravings. And maybe you're the type of person that you struggle with cravings and you know what you're supposed to do, right? You just have a heck of a time doing it. Well, you may not have known this, but could be your sleep. I mean, how amazing would that be if you just started sleeping a couple more hours a night, getting good quality sleep, and all of a sudden your cravings are in check, you can control what you're doing? Pretty neat. But it makes sense, right? I mean, if you understand the physiology of sleep, all of this starts to make sense. It's not just like, oh, power your system down for longer every night, and now all of a sudden you magically lose weight and have hormone balance. Well, no, if you understand a little bit of anatomy and physiology, it actually makes perfect sense. I also want to talk about cortisol and fat storage and stress related to sleep. So sleep is also the primary regulator of cortisol. You probably know this, but cortisol is your stress hormone. And under healthy conditions, cortisol is really high in the morning, and you want that. Cortisol is your stress hormone. It's your fight or flight hormone. So naturally, as you could imagine, you'd want more of that hormone in the morning. Why? Well, because you're about to go win your day. You need a lot of energy and a lot of ambition, a lot of motivation, a lot of get up and go. You want to be in sympathetic mode, sympathetic nervous system mode earlier in the morning so that you can go attack your day, right? And that's been true since the beginning of time, right? Versus at the end of the day, you should be doing the opposite, right? Cortisol should go down and you should be getting ready for sleep, rest, recovery. Well, we know that chronic poor sleep does the opposite. It actually elevates nighttime cortisol and flattens the daily rhythm of hormone balance. So we know that elevated cortisol, especially later in the day, promotes fat storage, increases abdominal fat. So not only helps you retain fat, but it puts it in all the wrong places, increases muscle breakdown. So again, there it is. Again, this is part of why people that don't get enough sleep lose a lot of muscle mass, is because of cortisol and what that does. And then again, it worsens blood sugar control. So this is where a lot of people get frustrated because they say, I'm eating clean, I'm doing all the right things, but not a lot's changing. Again, if you're not addressing your sleep, this is one of those non-negotiable things. And I've been coaching people with their health for almost 2 decades. And this is one of those things that if you refuse to address your sleep, I'm basically going to tell you it's like flipping a coin. Right? I mean, we can change your diet. We can do all this functional testing. We can put you on a workout plan. We can get you adjusted and do treatments in the office. But if you're not sleeping well, I really have no guarantees for you, right? Because sleep is so integral with every system in the body, and it just undercuts the function and the optimization of everything else in the body. So, that's the bad news, that if you're getting poor sleep, it is going to affect everything else in your body and your life negatively. The good news is fixing this one thing is going to have a ripple effect that's going to affect everything in your body and your life as well. Also want to talk about testosterone and growth hormone. This is interesting too. When you're asleep, and I think everybody gets this, but when you're asleep, it's like a race car pulling into a pit stop. You change the tires, change the oil, fill up the gas tank, rotate everything. Everything's good to go for another X number of laps, right? The laps represent your day. Well, we also know that sleep is when anabolic hormones are released. So anabolic hormones are hormones that build muscle mass. So think about it like this. Like if your car is a race car, you pull into the pit stop, the analogy here is that in the pit stop, you're not just changing the oil, filling up the gas tank, rotating the tires, but you're actually adding on more material to the car to make it stronger, more resilient, faster, all those things. Well, your body does that while you sleep. So it is like a pit stop, but you actually get a level up when you sleep with these anabolic hormones, as long as you're getting enough sleep. Up to 70% of your daily growth hormone. That's the hormone that makes your muscles bigger and stronger and actually prevents muscle wasting as you get older. So even if you're trying to, not trying to get big in the gym, this is still important to you. And even if you're a woman, same thing. Like you do not want to lose muscle mass as you age. It's one of the leading causes of infirmity for people, in their elder years. Testosterone is also tightly linked to sleep duration and quality. In a study published in the Journal of American Medical Association, 1 week of restricted sleep in young men, and again, this is young men. These aren't like old people that, have health issues. 1 week of restricted sleep in young men resulted in testosterone levels comparable to aging 10 to 15 years. So meaning these young men had testosterone levels that were the same as men that were like 10 to 15 years older than them, right? So this applies to everybody. This is not, and that also means, if you are middle-aged or even older than that, getting enough sleep is one of the best ways that you can naturally produce testosterone and growth hormone, without having to take something. 2 systems that control sleep. These are really important. I'm going to go quick on these, but your circadian rhythm is number 1, and then sleep pressure is number 2. And I want to talk about sleep pressure because when you understand this, I think it'll help you regulate and manage your sleep cycle and what you do throughout the day to get ready for sleep a lot better. I think circadian rhythm is a little bit more intuitive and talked about. But just to cover our bases, your circadian rhythm is your body's 24-hour timing system. So it controls when cortisol rises, when melatonin is released, which is the hormone, that increases towards the end of the day that makes you sleepy. That's why a lot of people take it before bed. When your body temperature drops, which is also really important for getting a good night's sleep. When you feel alert versus feeling sleepy. And the most important thing to understand with circadian rhythm is that it is influenced primarily by light. So morning light tells your brain it's daytime, get up, wake up, let's go, be alert. Evening darkness tells your brain to do the opposite. I know this is like super obvious and intuitive when I say it out loud, but then you follow the average person around and, in terms of light exposure, it doesn't usually follow the natural rhythms of how our bodies are designed to operate, right? Like usually we're getting a lot of artificial light first thing in the morning. We're getting a lot of artificial light late at night. And because the average person doesn't get outside a whole lot other than the weekends, we're not actually getting a lot of natural light at all. And if we do, it's usually during the middle of the day where it's warm or where we can go be more active. Most important light exposure of the day by far is first thing in the morning. It's also why you should not wear sunglasses on the way to work. On the way to work in the morning, even if the sun's in your eyes, like put the visor down, but try to let as much sunlight. Obviously, don't look into the sun. That's not what I'm saying. But try to get as much natural sunlight to interact with your eyes or interface with your eyes as possible. So That's your circadian rhythm. System two, though, sleep pressure. Sleep pressure has a lot to do with adenosine. So sleep pressure builds the longer you're awake. Obviously, like the longer you're awake, the more tired you get. So that's sleep pressure. It's driven by adenosine, which accumulates in the brain. The more adenosine you have, the stronger you have the drive to go to sleep, the sleepier you get. Caffeine works by blocking adenosine. So this is a misnomer. A lot of people think that caffeine gives you energy. Caffeine actually doesn't give you energy. Caffeine just blocks adenosine. That's why, some people can drink coffee later in the day. I mean, I even have friends that drink coffee like after dinner. In fact, I think in a lot of cultures around the world, that's actually a thing where you have a little espresso right after dinner with dessert before you go to bed. So, as long as the other systems and rhythms in your body are regulated and managed and maintained, I think that's probably not an issue. But just understand that caffeine works by blocking adenosine. So if you're the type of person that struggles with getting to bed at night, like even if you're super tired, you go to bed and you just can't fall asleep, or you're the type of person that, you go to bed at like 9, 10 and you just lay there until like midnight or 1, it's very, very important for you to not drink coffee after probably noon or 1 at the very latest. And you got to play with this because everybody's physiology is a little bit different, but also anything else that reduces sleepiness throughout the day. Like I'm all for taking a midday nap. In fact, there was a period of my life where for probably 7 or 8 years, I took a 15-minute nap every day, Monday through Friday, a 15-minute nap. But it was also because I was running my body at redline for, a decade. It's also when we were having little kids and opening a business and all these things. So my sleep pressure was plenty high, right? Now that life has slowed down a little bit, if I take a nap now, I do have trouble getting to bed a lot of nights. So I typically don't nap. So you got to play with this and figure out what works for you. But just in terms of keeping sleep pressure high, you want to focus on things that keep sleep pressure high. If you're the type of person that needs to improve sleep or has trouble getting to sleep, don't drink caffeine after noon. Don't take naps, and then the other thing is having irregular sleep schedules can really throw off your sleep pressure. So we're going to talk about that when it comes to the action steps, but those are the two main systems that influence sleep. And why they matter together is because, your internal clock, in order for sleep to happen easily, your internal clock at night needs to tell you to go to bed. Your internal clock in the morning needs to tell you to get up and wake up and get to work. We know that, but these two systems have a big influence on that. And so if you're not being intentional, it's going to be really difficult for your body to do what it's supposed to do. Okay. So this is the action part. So if you're taking notes, this is the part where I'm going to tell you exactly what to do. This is my favorite part because when I listen to these podcasts, I just want the person to tell me what to do, right? Like I like the science and the concepts and the mindset and all that, but ultimately I just tell me what to do and I'll go do it and I'll get the results and be happy. So here are the 4 levers that actually fix sleep. So number 1, light. Bright light within 30 to 60 minutes of waking up. We talked about that. Helps reset your cortisol levels and your circadian rhythm. Most people, when they think about managing light exposure, they think about managing it at the end of the day. So people wear blue light blocker glasses and they turn their screens to eliminate blue light late at night. And that's great. Like we're going to, you should do that. And you should probably avoid screens like at least an hour before you go to bed at night. But I think the most important thing you can do is to actually get more light early in the day. Okay. Second lever is stimulants. We talked about this, but caffeine, the half-life of caffeine is between 6 and 8 hours. And again, we're not talking about giving you energy. We're talking about blocking adenosine. So you just want to be mindful of that. That means if you have like a 12-ounce coffee at noon, you've still got 6 ounces, so to speak, worth of caffeine, depending on the content, right? And the brew and everything else. But you still have that amount of caffeine in your system at 8 o'clock at night, so you just want to be mindful of that. And if you're the type of person that can get away with it, then it's totally fine. The good thing about sleep is the levers that you can pull to influence sleep, they're going to give you results almost immediately. I mean, I would say within a week, you'll know without a shadow of a doubt whether something you're changing is making a positive difference or if it doesn't matter at all, right? So stimulants and caffeine, caffeine, coffee, that's probably the biggest one. But anything that's a stimulant, you just want to be mindful of. And I would say, focus on consuming those things earlier in the day and then less of those things later in the day. So it sounds obvious, but it makes a big difference. Lever number 3 is temperature. And this is a big one. If you sleep cold, you're going to sleep better. Sleep initiation requires a drop in core body temperature, right? So the rule is, you want to keep your bedroom like in the mid 60s. I think we typically keep ours at like 66, depending on the time of year. Sometimes we'll sleep with the window open as long as it's not super hot or super cold outside. But having a cooler room means that your body temperature can cool down, right? Also, a couple things that you could try, like you can try taking a hot shower or doing a sauna at night. And again, you got to play with this because everybody's body is different. For me personally, it gets my core temperature way too hot and then I'm like sweating in bed. But there is this thing called the rebound cooling effect, which is where if you get really hot doing whatever, a hot shower or sauna, hot tub, your body has to cool itself down. And so a lot of times the rebound cooling will get your core body temperature actually lower than it was before you did the thing that made you hot, right? Again, everybody's a little bit different. For me, that doesn't work. For me, I keep sweating for like the next 2 hours. So I don't do that. In fact, if I do anything, I'll do a cold shower right before bed. And then the last lever is consistency. And again, these are super obvious things, but your body is trainable. Your nervous system is adaptable. You can condition your nervous system and even your sleep cycles to be extremely efficient and effective as long as you're consistent, right? And so that's why waking up at the same time every day, give or take 30 minutes, very, very, very important. It anchors your circadian rhythm. And so that's why, like, even if you have to, like, if you're traveling, like we go to seminars on the East Coast, we're on the West Coast, we go to East Coast 2 or 3 times a year. And if we're traveling for other things, sometimes we don't get in until like midnight, 1 o'clock. And I try to force myself to still get up at the same time, even if I only got 2 or 3 hours of sleep the night before. Even though that day is going to be probably kind of crappy, I know that the next night I'm going to be able to go to sleep really, really easily. And then the second day that we're there, I'm pretty much on a new rhythm, right? And it has to do with the time that you wake up. So there's some other things that you can do to manage jet lag and that kind of thing. We'll probably do a separate episode at some point on that. But forcing yourself to get up, give or take 30 minutes the same time every day makes a huge difference because it anchors your circadian clock. Okay, I want to talk just briefly about why supplements, and I'm a big fan of supplements. I think there's a time and a place, much better than medications, in my opinion, for most things. However, I think the mistake that a lot of people make is they want to, in the name of doing things naturally, they want to take a supplement instead of a medication. And if they get the same result with a supplement, they just figure, well, it worked, I'll just keep taking the supplement forever. That's not usually the best plan because it's probably not a lack of that supplement that caused the problem in the first place. Like you take sleep, for instance, right? Take the most common supplement for sleep, melatonin, inositol is a good one. In fact, I like inositol personally better, but a lot of people are familiar with melatonin. So let's say you get poor sleep, you take melatonin, you don't want to be on Ambien or something like that. So you switch to melatonin. And you find that it works. Like you get pretty good sleep using melatonin. Well, because it works, this positive feedback loop is going to tell you and motivate you to keep doing the same thing. Well, that's great, except for the fact that it wasn't a lack of melatonin supplement that caused the poor sleep in the first place. Do you get what I'm saying? Like there's all these other lifestyle factors like, lack of sleep pressure, sleep inconsistency, not enough light exposure in the morning or too much blue light late at night. Like all these things, if you don't fix these things, then you have to continue to take the melatonin indefinitely. And because your body builds resilience and tolerance, you have to keep taking more and more and more to the point where eventually the supplement probably isn't going to work anymore. And then you do have to go to a pharmaceutical, which, you go down that road. Now you're talking about side effects, and those side effects cause dysfunction. And then those dysfunctions ultimately lead to needing different medications or treatment modalities. So, I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but the ultimate goal is to address the underlying cause of the problem, right? If you need to use a supplement in the short term so that you can actually get some sleep, I think that's okay. But, magnesium, for example, melatonin, These supplements are good. They can support sleep, but they don't fix insulin resistance, cortisol dysregulation, circadian disruption. So my recommendation is fix the inputs first, then the supplements work better, or ideally become unnecessary altogether. So here we go. I want to give you a 7-day sleep reset. So this is what you can do for the next 7 days. I can almost guarantee you, unless you have something a lot more serious going on, but I can almost guarantee you if you do these things over the next 7 days, your sleep will improve. The amount of sleep, the quality of sleep, depth of sleep, and then the result is going to be you're going to feel better. You're going to feel like you have more energy, fewer highs and lows with blood sugar regulation and even mood and cognition. So for the next 7 days, here's what you do. Number 1, morning light exposure. Whatever time you wake up, within the first 30 to 60 minutes of you being awake, just go outside. Just go outside. And you can, driving in your car counts as long as you don't have your sunglasses on. But go outside for like 5 to 10 minutes. Take a walk. That'd be even, better. Get some movement into your body first thing. But at the very least, go outside 5 to 10 minutes every morning. Next, fix your wake time. Fix your wake time, right? Just decide. And I don't really even care. I mean, some people like to go to bed a little later, sleep in a little bit later. I think, again, that's probably a topic for another episode. Personally, I try to go to bed at 9:30 or 10 every night, and I try to wake up 5:30 or 6 every morning, right? And so that's what I do. Whatever it is that you want to do, just decide and then set a wake time and don't deviate 30 minutes on either side, even on the weekends. And this is where weekends can really screw people up, because it's like, man, I'm so disciplined all week long, and then I've earned it to be able to stay up super late and watch Netflix and eat Domino's and then sleep in the next day. And then people wonder why people get a case of the Mondays or the scary Sundays. Even I've heard it's because, you're kind of ruining yourself all weekend. Then you got to get back to reality on Monday. It's a lot easier just to stay consistent. Next one is caffeine cutoff. I think for most people, it's a really safe bet to just commit to not drinking caffeine after 12 o'clock noon. Again, I think there are people out there that can handle it, that drink caffeine at like 1 or 2 p.m., maybe even a little bit later than that. But I think if sleep is an issue, just commit to doing this for the next 7 days and see what happens. And then the next one is evening light reduction. So I know I talked a lot about the importance of getting exposed to light early in the morning, and I still think that's the most important thing. But there is something to be said for telling your brain that it's about time to go to bed by reducing the amount of light that get through your eyes, later in the day. So you don't have to necessarily go totally dark, but I would recommend dimming the lights, maybe turning off a lot of the lights around your house that don't need to be on. Like, you don't need to have every single light on in your living room, right, to watch TV, or in your dining room to eat dinner, or, in your bathroom to brush your teeth. Like, you could have like a little lamp, right? So you can make a huge impact with your circadian rhythm just by reducing the amount of light, even if you're not going totally dark. Here are some optional ones. I would recommend, if you're having a major sleep problem right this minute, taking magnesium late at night. I would probably recommend that over taking melatonin. But you want to look for magnesium glycinate or threonate. I think those are the best for sleep specifically. Another thing you can do, these are optional, 2 to 3 minutes of slow nasal breathing. Why slow nasal breathing? When you do that, it suppresses your sympathetic nervous system, which is your fight or flight nervous system, which is also the system that when it's ramped up, it increases cortisol in your body. So the opposite of that is parasympathetic. And so when you slow your breathing down, you breathe through your nose. And I think that's why it's nasal breathing. It's because you just can't breathe as hard or as fast through your nose, right? But when you do that, it activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which suppresses your sympathetic nervous system and reduces cortisol, okay? And then I talked about this one earlier. This one, take a hot shower early in the evening. Maybe don't do it right before bed, but maybe like, right after dinner, you're still chilling out for like an hour or two, hot shower, let your body cool off. And then again, make sure your bedroom is mid 60s. You don't want it too hot. So the bottom line is consistency beats intensity, right? If you're the type of person where it's going to be easier and more sustainable for you to just change one thing, but you can change it for the whole week and then maybe the whole month, well, do that. that's a lot better than changing everything for 4 days and just going, man, this sucks. Like, I don't want to do this. This is way too much. It's consuming my whole life. Well, then don't do it. Right. I always tell people the best health plan is the one that you'll actually stick to. Right. So how do you know it's working? Well, the cool thing with sleep is your body's going to tell you right away. This is not like a 6-month investment just to see whether or not it worked. I mean, you're going to notice right away. You're going to have fewer cravings, better morning energy, less caffeine dependence, which means you're not going to feel like you have to go grab a Red Bull or a Monster or a Starbucks at like 2 or 3 in the afternoon or after lunch, whatever. And then improved recovery. Like if you're the type of person that works out a lot, or you're very performance driven, or maybe you have a really labor intensive job, you'll also notice that your body recovers a lot faster. And this is probably one of the more obvious ones, because again, your body's like in a pit stop at night while you're sleeping. But these are all signs that your metabolism is normalizing, your hormones are balancing, your body's actually doing what it's created to do and working on your behalf while you sleep. Which again, like if you just need a mental reframe in order to value sleep more, because even for me, like I still get tempted to start cutting my sleep. Like if I start getting ambitious about a project or, something that's coming up that I really want to put a lot of time and energy and effort into, my first temptation is I'll get up an hour earlier. That'll give me an extra hour in the day. That's 7 extra hours a week. That's 28 extra hours minimum every month. Man, I could accomplish a lot with that 28 extra hours a month. It's tempting, right? Now, if you already sleep 9 or 10 hours a night, maybe you should start cutting a little bit. But I think for the most part, most people need to add sleep and not subtract it. So as we close up here, just remember that sleep is not passive. It's not optional. It's not negotiable. Sleep has to happen. If you don't get enough quality sleep, you don't get enough sleep, it's not deep enough sleep, no matter what else you do to try to improve your health, it's not going to work, or it's going to be really, really challenging. So hope this helped you today. Like I said earlier, if you like this show, if you get a lot of value out of it, do me a favor, leave me a review, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next week.